James, I'm very eager for the deep dive you've prepared for today's show because I have had a really hard time figuring out what the hell is going on with the boxing controversy at the Olympics.
The reason it is so tricky and complicated to follow is because it doesn't fall neatly into any kind of category. I mean, literally in the case of these two boxers. So just to give a quick overview of where we are, we had two Olympic boxers who had failed eligibility tests. These are chromosomal tests to test the sex of the boxer. And they were not allowed to fight in last year's World Boxing Championships. That was in 2023. Now, the IOC, which is the Olympic Committee, they disregarded these findings, meaning that both Amain Khalif and Lin Yu Ting, they're a different weight category, could both fight. And such has been the success of these two fighters that they are now both guaranteed medals. But what was controversial about this decision is that we had a press conference with the International Boxing Association yesterday. And they explained why Khalif and Yu Ting could not fight in the championships last year.
I try to say that the medical result, blood result, looks and say the laboratories that this boxer is male.
So it was a very testy exchange between journalists and the International Boxing Association. Now, the reason this is particularly controversial is that it came after the IOC defended their decision to allow the boxers to fight. They described the IBA's test as arbitrary. What they're doing here is they're not actually questioning the test result. They're simply deflecting. And again, another layer of controversy is that the IOC tells sports federations, their individual sports, whether it's canoeing, rugby, tennis, anything, they are in charge of managing their own house. However, IBA was stripped of that ruling because they'd failed something to do with governance and finance reforms. So IOC essentially took it over. So the last thing I want to note is that this is not a transgender issue. Based on public information, these two athletes are suffering from a sexual development disorder that affects males called 5ARD or 5ARD. So in practice, that means they are assigned female at birth, but when they hit puberty, they undergo male puberty changes, which means they get all the benefits of testosterone, but still compete in the female category. And that's where the unfairness comes in.
This is so hard to believe that, and I'm not saying it's not true, it's clearly true, but that you have two people with this very rare condition boxing in such a fraught cultural climate, and they both happen to have this really rare condition that makes the discussion way more nuanced. I don't blame a lot of people in the kind of turf world or on the right for having a hair trigger and saying this is absurd. We're watching women get their face beat by men, because that's something that has been defended in mainstream corridors for years now. But it's not what happened here, based on what you're saying, James. They actually both have this very rare condition.
Exactly. And these categories exist for a reason. And unfortunately for these two fighters, they did fail the chromosomal test. They have XY chromosomes, which makes them male sex. That automatically should disqualify you from competing in a female category. So the Olympic fighting is continuing. Khalif has her final fight today. Whether she will get a gold or silver is almost beside the point. And Yu Ting is fighting tomorrow. So we'll keep a close eye on those developments.
A case study in why the exceptions prove the rule. They don't prove that the rule must be changed. This is clearly an illustration of how much more powerful you are if you're, in this exceptional space, quite literally this exceptional rare space. But that doesn't mean that you change the entire sport to accommodate people in those positions, because we see exactly what happens. So it's just a ridiculous, we're in such a ridiculous place as a society, as the West, that we can't sort of clearly delineate right and wrong in situations like these. But James, Billow, thank you for diving deep on that one. I really have had a hard time piecing it together. It's just been insane. So much appreciated. Thanks for tuning into the Undercurrents channel. Make sure to subscribe and go to undercurrents.tv, my new favorite website, for even more behind the scenes and premium content. I'll see you back here soon.